Hey folks, my name is Mo Amir and this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. Tonight is all about the outrage. Why is Malcolm in the Middle fuming about Vancouver? Fiona Forbes will give us her report. Plus, is Pierre Poilievre giving women the ick? World-renowned Canadian gynecologist Dr. Jen Gunter will discuss some recent online outrage generated by the Conservative Party leader. But first, last month, CTV's Your Morning launched a fact-checking segment for the Canadian federal election featuring independent journalist Rachel Gilmore. But upon an inundation of outrage from internet trolls and even Pierre Poilievre's media relations director, CTV decided to cancel the segment. Apparently, by CTV's own admission, the cancellation had nothing to do with what Rachel had said on their program. So why cancel it? Did the trolls win? Here to discuss, the award-winning investigative reporter herself, and of course, VANCOLOUR fan favorite, Rachel Gilmore. Rachel, always nice to see you.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on again. I love hanging out with you.
Absolutely. Now, I am sorry to hear what happened. Obviously, media outlets will always get backlash, especially when politics is involved. We get complaints on this show all the time. Is there something different about the backlash and the outrage that CTV received about having you on their programming?
I think it's just the volume of it. I have some very dedicated trolls, and I think that they're very good at almost coordinating to come after any opportunities I get to try to get them taken away from me. I'm not exactly sure how I earned that honor of, always being it's someone who they find the time to manufacture that much outrage about. But it certainly, I think, was not unique, but an example of a playbook insofar as the extent of the outrage was the result of these guys knowing what they're doing and knowing how to deprive people of opportunities.
So what you're describing is something that is not organic. You use the word playbook. You said coordinated. Yeah. I mean, this really does sound like it was, especially based on the volume, something that was out of bad faith as opposed to, something you said or something you got wrong on air.
No, exactly. That's entirely what it is. I mean, I'm a human being. I've made mistakes over my career. There's things that I've issued corrections. There's been things that I maybe wish I had worded differently. But that's not outside the realm of what every single other journalist has done. And despite what the internet might tell you, I've never been fired. I've only ever been laid off for business decisions. So, it's just what they do is they take any normal mistake or anything that can be framed as a mistake or just outright lie and pump those allegations out of control until a newsroom just decides, you know what, this person's too controversial. This person's too much of a problem for us. They're too much of a distraction. So let's just bring in someone who is less distracting. And that's usually not a woman. It's usually not a person of color, although, I'm a white woman, so I already had that privilege going into it. But, it's a tried and true thing that these guys know works. They know if enough of them scream, yell enough, they know if enough of them scream loud enough, opportunities will be taken away from people like me and either disappear entirely, as happened with this Your Morning segment, or will go to someone who maybe they deem to be more palatable, just because newsrooms don't really know how to deal with people being subject to these campaigns. So these guys know they work, and they just got more evidence that it works.
In reference to these campaigns, I mean, you're saying they and them, like who is this? Who are we talking about? Because there were some notable media personalities as well that also, seem to be very upset that you got this gig. So who are you speaking of specifically?
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you asked that, because one pet peeve I have is a lot of conspiracy theorists and stuff will always blame a vague they. And you kind of sit there and you're like, who are you actually talking about? So thank you for giving me the chance to answer that. Yeah, it's a very online right wing kind of infosphere. There's a lot of the same characters that show up in it. In this particular moment, I would say that one of the main vectors that triggered this campaign was Pierre Poilievre's, the man who up until a few days before the election campaign was his main spokesperson and who continues to be on Poilievre's team, who called me a disgraced disinformation peddler without any evidence. And, then you had a bunch of guys who sort of have one foot in the fringe of the online right wing and one foot in the mainstream. So your Brian Lillys, your Terry Glavin, like these people who are columnists, or outlets like Toronto Sun, or maybe have just people who maintain a bit of a veneer of respectability, but whose followers can be more of the rabid right-wing trolls. And so they amplified that. They also added to the pile-on. Then you had the, website that has an online rating of mixed factuality, Western Standard, that claims to be a news outlet, writing up all of this outrage, not giving me a chance to respond to the totally ridiculous claims and just publishing them as is without any pushback. And it just all snowballs into a fervor. And I'm not the first person this has happened to, and I won't be the last, although I hope that because of the fact that CTV saw what actual organic outrage looks like in response to their decision to cancel this segment, they'll understand the distinction between a very online troll campaign and actually making people angry.
Right. Now, there may be some people who are watching this and go, well, people have the right to complain if they want, whether it's coordinated or not. People are going to do that. And we know that big companies cave to outrage all the time. So really quickly, in about a minute or less, in your specific case, what message has CTV effectively sent to the Canadian public, including journalists and including the trolls?
They've sent the message to the trolls that this works. And they've sent the message to journalists that if you cover certain topics that get you harassed by trolls, you will lose opportunities because newsrooms won't have your back. And that is a really bad message to send at a time when a lot of the kinds of topics that make people really angry online are also the kinds of reporting that are integral to preserving our democracy and fighting against some of the biggest crises of our time, which include things like disinformation. It's really bad. And I really hope that in speaking out about this, people learn a lesson from my experience and don't make the same mistakes again.
Well, Rachel, you know that I'm a fan, and I know that you have a lot of people supporting you. I am so glad that you will be fact-checking on Canada's National Observer. So thanks again for your time, and thanks again, and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, Mo. I really appreciate that.
Folks, that was independent journalist Rachel Gilmore. Follow her on social media for some really incredible and accessible Canadian political content. Now, after some business, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been talking about biological clocks. Dr. Jen Gunter will explain why some women are not impressed. That's up next.